Namaste, I'm Nandini Mouli and thank you for tuning to our monthly series Dharmic Reflections from Sri Siva Vishnu Temple, where we reflect on the foundation of Hinduism, key principles and practices. The Hindu Dharma or Sanatana Dharma defines what are the religious and moral laws that bind us in harmony. The primary aim of human life, according to Hindu Dharma, is performing one's religious duty without fail. One of those duties is paying respects to our parents who brought us into this world. When they leave this world, it is our utmost priority to perform the antyeshti or the final rites as a mark of our love, gratitude and respect. In addition, it is important to pay homage to those departed souls annually and during other specific times prescribed in the Hindu calendar. These procedures vary depending on one's customs, geographical area as well as lineage. Sri Siva Vishnu Temple is launching a new initiative, a service offering to help navigate these very complex religious procedures. Project Akshaya Vata will be the go-to place or one-stop shop where any Hindu all over the country can call in and perform these religious rites to his or her ancestors authentically. To talk about Project Akshaya Vata, I have invited its chief architects from Sri Siva Vishnu Temple, Dr. Shiva Subramanian and Mr. Venkat Subramanian to the studios. By way of introduction, Dr. Shiva is a professor of pediatrics and OBGYN at the MedStar Georgetown University Hospital. He is also an ex-chairman of the Board of Trustees of Sri Siva Vishnu Temple.
Namaste.
Sri Venkat Subramanian is a current member of the Temple's board. He is also the founder, president and CEO of Angarai, a management consulting company in the National Capital Region. Shiva, Dr. Shiva and Venkat, very nice to have you on the studios of GTV today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Glad to be here.
Thank you. Dr. Shiva, maybe we can start off with some basics of this project. What are some of the obligations or samskaras to be performed during one's life as well as at the time of death, according to Hindu Dharma?
It's obviously a loaded question in terms of because it's got a lot of information, but what I would like to say quickly, in a Hindu's life, from birth to death, there are a lot of specific special rites that are done for the various different events that happen in one's lifetime. And so each rite has its own meaning, effects, but we are going to focus today on the final rites of somebody when they pass away in what is done. And in addition, in terms of, as you said, depending upon the geographical area they come from, the customs and traditions, they follow after that for 10 to 16 days various specific rites and rituals that are done, and that is something that we want to focus. Sri Siva Vishnu Temple has done over the years from 1984 help with the priest to do this, but the devotees are not really able to do this in one place where they can make sure get all these things done. And so for that purpose, we decided, even though we have been doing this for a long time, as a special project, this Akshaya Vata, which will focus on in terms of how to provide that support, as you said, the one-stop shop, or in terms of all the resources that are necessary for this specific rites.
Beautiful, beautiful. So it's a very, very important initiative for Hindus. And as your brainchild, Venkat, can you take us to the history of the project Akshaya Vata?
Absolutely. And It started for almost 15 years ago when Dr. Shiva and I started putting together a framework for such a platform where a devotee could have what I would call full service for what is needed for this. It's a rather very emotional, difficult, not so easy subject to talk about. The structures and procedures are very detailed as defined by the Dharma Shastras or our code, so to speak. And so it required some level of guidance, interpretation, facility where these things can be done much easily for a Hindu to follow their tradition in terms of paying respect to and homage to their ancestors, forefathers who brought us to this world, who taught us what our culture is, and to be able to remember them, respect them, and recognize them. So we started an engagement almost, this was initiated under the guidance of the Kanchi Acharya when I had the opportunity to talk to him about it almost 15 years ago. And he was basically saying, why aren't you thinking about doing something for the Hindu community in North America? So that's when we started this engagement. My father, late Angarai Ramaswamy Iyer, used to do that in Mylapore. He was known for that in that part of Madras, for following these procedures, rituals, helping and facilitating the community on such activities. So he was, I mean, perhaps the Kanchi Acharya picked that up to say, well, why, now that you are in the United States, why don't you look at this for the community? So we have been working together, me and Dr. Shiva particularly, and with others in the temple and the community, under the name of what we call Paramapadam. That's kind of what we launched almost 15 years ago as a white paper, so to speak, looking at, because there are a lot of structures and definitions and procedures as defined by the Shastras, and there are a lot of localized activities that we need to do in terms of place, the location, the procedures that we need to follow. So there has to be a combination of applicability of what is in the code, in our Hindu Dharmic code, the Shastras, to relevant to the land that we are in for us to be able to follow our tradition and culture. So that's kind of what took us through this whole journey to where we are. The word Akshaya Vata has a very significant significance from the Dharmic religion. It talks about, it goes into the history of a Sita trying to follow the tradition and the structure to her father-in-law, and there were multiple players involved in it, and the most important one that stood by her and helped her to go through this is Akshaya Vata, which basically refers to a banyan tree. So the legend has it that Sita blessed the banyan tree for an indestructible or an eternal status, and that's the reason we believe today, for a banyan tree the roots spread and they come to ground and they offspring and so on and so forth. So that makes it eternal, and hence the name Project Akshaya Vata.
Okay. Now, can you say something about the project's features that are going to be applicable for the local congregation?
Absolutely. There are two major activities that comes under the Project Akshaya Vata. One, what we call the aparakarma. Aparakarma are the activities that happens in a Hindu life when the soul departs the body for the first X number of days. It varies depending upon the community and the culture and the practices. It varies anywhere from 10 to 16 days. So we call them the aparakarma or the anteshti, or the final rites, if you will, or the last rites, if you will. So that we are going to be doing it under a framework of what we call Paschima Kashi. Kashi refers to Banaras, Varanasi, or Kashi, which is one of the very most sacred place for Hindus in the northeastern part of the country by the river Ganges. And it is believed that Lord Shiva, to every single departed soul, recites the name of Rama in that place, and so it has a significance. So we are launching this as Paschima Kashi, Paschima for Western the word West. So it's because in the Western world, Paschima Kashi as in a Western location for a place where we can do this offering. And the other project that we will be working on, which we are working on, is what we call Paschima Gaya. Gaya again is a very significant holy place for any Dharmic religion, not only for Hindus but also for Buddhists and others. So Gaya has a very unique significance to perform the homage activities that is post these 16-day period, whether it is monthly special occasions, annual, what we call Shraddh as the anniversaries and so on and so forth, all that will be under Paschima Gaya. So those are the two major projects under this Akshaya Vata. Paschima Kashi, the western part of Kashi, or the Kashi in the western world, so to speak, where we will do all the aparakarmas, the last rites for 16 days, and Paschima Gaya, where it is the Gaya of the West, where we will perform all the other activities associated with it.
Okay, very nice, excellent background, Venkat. And in terms of the project itself, the concept to the implementation side, and I know that there's a whole lot of thought leadership going on at the SSVT temple itself to roll it out in a way that it is going to be able to fulfill the needs of the local community. So in terms of the rollout idea, can you say something about the timing for these periods?
Sure. I think it is important to look at in 3 phases, and phase 1 is that something that we can start now, that is on September 6th through for 14 days. It is called Mahalaya Paksha, where or Shraddha Paksha or Pitru Paksha, where it is a phase for the ancestors, forefathers. And so these ceremonies in these 14 days, if it is done, it is the most in terms of the blessings that needs to be for the people who are remaining. And so we are going to start this in that place where we have identified as we are going to put this Akshaya Vata project. And so it is not something that we have to wait for a long time. Even though we have been doing this Mahalaya Paksha in other places with the priest, we're now going to make it, as you said, in one place in an organized way.
Very nice, excellent. And then after that, there are going to be more steps to be followed, phases to be launched, and so on. So what is the current thinking about those phases?
Correct. We are looking at this as waves, if you will. And what Dr. Siva talked about eloquently is the wave 1 that we are going to start with. All this is going to be in a dedicated facility. We have a facility in 8812 Orbit Lane, Lanham, very close to the temple. Again, it's at 8812 Orbit Lane. This whole place is dedicated for this purposes. We are in the process of setting this so that it will meet the needs of these various activities. So the wave 1 Dr. Siva talked about is going to be launched in the first week of 6th of September onwards under the Mahalaya Paksha. Then we have 2 more waves that are scheduled to come, wave 2 and wave 3, where we will be working on getting the infrastructure, the physical infrastructure that is, getting resources, priestly services, support services, someone to make specific food and other requirements for these activities, and ingredients and specific things that one would need, both from the emotional support side as well as for the requirements to do these rituals or to perform these rituals to pay homage to our ancestors. So the whole idea is that we are developing procedures, we are developing internal training, so to speak, we are developing manual, we are developing anywhere from how to. So from the time a devotee who needs the services picks up the phone and calls us to delivery, we are developing an end-to-end strategy and a structure, and that will be coming up in the next 2 waves, the wave 2 and 3. So that's the thought
But
process.
I also want to add to that in terms of that this is not just restricted to the Sri Siva Vishnu temple devotees. It is for any Hindu who wants to follow these Dharmic codes.
Yes.
Can call the general manager or to make
Absolutely. This is for it's a very Hindu-centric activity, not just specific to SSVT. And we definitely would need all and any support because it's a huge project, it's a complex project needed for the community. So I urge and request everyone to join, participate, contribute, and also avail these services for the community.
Important. And thank you, Dr. Siva and Venkat, for coming
Thank
and
you.
describing, explaining this noble initiative for the Hindus in the local area. Dear viewers, you just heard how this project is truly one of a kind that is meeting a need that has not been met satisfactorily until now in the whole of North America. Sri Siva Vishnu Temple, as a premier Hindu religious institution, has embarked on this very important endeavor. As mentioned by Venkat already, we need your support, we need your help, we need your participation and contribution towards making this a very valuable service from the temple. Please feel free to reach us at the temple's address www.ssvt.org or calling the general manager at 301-552-3335. We look forward to staying in touch. Until we meet next time, I'm Nandini Mouli, once again with my guests, Dr. Siva Subramanian and Angarai Venkat Subramanian. We say thank you for tuning to us today and giving us a part of your day to tune into this very important program and message from Sri Siva Vishnu Temple. Namaste, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu.